Hey everybody, it's Mary Gallagher. I have a question for you guys. I just want to make sure that my microphone is working. Okay, there we go. So, welcome. Hey, three questions for you today. Would any of these things make a difference to your child? Would it help if your child had books that they could read independently, that they could practice with? Would it help if you knew how to choose those books without getting into those leveled readers? Would it help if you could go to the library, choose books that your child could read, and get practice with? Would that help your child? Would that help you? How about this question? Would it help if your child had strategies they could use when reading? What if your child came to a word they didn't know, and instead of looking at you and saying, I don't know, or asking for help, what if they were able to use some different strategies to decode that word or to figure out what that word meant and to get it right and build their confidence so that they can feel good about reading by themselves? Would that help you? Would that help your child? And the third question I have for you today is, would it help if your child was practicing reading in a way that helped them become a fluent reader? So we can practice reading. Children can practice reading that maybe even sometimes actually hurts. And I know that sounds horrible to say, because isn't all reading practice good reading practice? And yes and no, because sometimes if children are reading books that are too hard and it's really hurting their confidence or they're not gaining momentum, that can actually set children back a bit. And research shows us that. So I don't want that to happen to your child. I want your child to be able to read and get practice that's going to help him or her become a fluent reader, because that's what we're after: fluency, comprehension, raising a lifelong reader. I want your child to have strategies that they can use so that if you're not there to help them figure out new words, they've got some strategies that they can pull out of their toolkit and they can say, hey, I can figure this word out, or I can still make meaning out of this sentence even if this word is new or hard for me. And I want you to feel comfortable choosing the right books for your child. So there's three things. Welcome. If you're joining, please leave a comment below so I can say hi to you. There's three things that your child needs. So you see, I asked three questions because I've got three answers to those questions to help you if you need them. So if you said yes to any one of those questions, then here's the three things we want to talk about today. Your child needs books they can read. So let's talk about this first one, books they can read. Well, what does that mean? Well, what that means is, again, if a child is reading books that are too difficult, I see this so often when I do reading analysis for parents. That child's going to run into frustration. That child's going to feel a lack of confidence, and confidence is so important to help your child move forward. It's also going to be hard for your child to use any of the strategies that you're trying to teach or model for him because those strategies aren't going to work. There's just too much difficulty going on. So I have a simple step method. It's 5 steps, and it helps you figure out books that are right for your child where they are, and it will help you move forward. It's a simple process. You can choose and buy those big box sets of all those leveled readers, but I'm going to say that it's more fun to teach reading using real children's books. But unfortunately, those real children's books don't always come leveled. They can kind of be in categories, and your librarian, your children's librarian, can help you with those. And we have book lists on our website. But wouldn't it be great if you had a strategy that you can sit down with a handful of books and say, okay, this is a book that my child can read on his or her own. This is a book we can read together. And this is a book I'm just going to save for read aloud because it's just too hard right now. But hopefully my child will be able to read it soon. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining. Leave a comment so I can see who's joining. Facebook doesn't tell me unless you comment. So I'd like to say hi to you personally. So that's number one. If you could find a way to find books that are appropriate practice for your child, would that alleviate some stress? Would that help your child move forward and become a fluent reader? I think it would. So if that's one thing that you're thinking, I wish I knew, stay tuned because I've got some more information for you. What about number 2? Wouldn't it be nice if your child had strategies to use when reading? Let's talk about that. So 3 things your child needs. Let's talk about number 2, strategies to use when reading. So sound it out is a strategy. And you've probably, if you've watched any of my videos, you've probably heard me talk about this a lot. Sound it out works, but it only works if decoding is consistent. So if your child knows k and your child knows and your child knows t, your child can sound out cat. But if your child doesn't know TR says tur, and your child doesn't know OU says ow, your child doesn't know that LE says LE yet, your child may not be able to sound out the word trouble just yet. But you can give them other clues, and your child can use other clues. So there's lots of other strategies that we use when we're reading. Hi, Kelly. Thanks for saying hi. I always see like there's people watching, but I can't always tell who it is. So I like to say hi. Thanks, Kelly, for letting me know. So strategies that your child can use. If you think that that's something that's missing other than sound it out, if you want to learn other strategies or you want to learn how to use them effectively and help your child know when to use what strategies, it's a little bit of an art. It's not an exact science, but with practice, you can model those strategies for your child and help him or her learn to use them really effectively. It becomes kind of like second nature, so it does take practice. All right, so my other question was, wouldn't it be great if your child was getting reading practice that helped make him or her a fluent reader? Because we all know that fluency is what, good reading sounds like, right? It's smooth reading. It's reading that's not a struggle. And when we're reading fluently, we can comprehend what we're reading. So that makes total sense. So answer number 3 is your child needs reading practice. Now we all know that, but is some reading practice different than others? Is some reading practice more effective than others? And actually the answer is yes. There is different kinds of reading practice. When you read aloud to your child, that's a type of reading practice because they're listening. They're hearing new vocabulary. They're listening to you read fluently. So they're hearing fluent reading modeled, and they're learning to comprehend and ask questions and talk about books. So that is an important part of reading practice. That's why we always say don't stop reading to your child, even if your child starts reading on their own. But then there's 2 other types of reading practice, and another type is independent reading practice. And that's just simply when your child takes books that they can read. So that goes back to the first one, right? They've got to have books they can read in order to participate in the reading practice. When your child has books they can read, they've read over and over, they're comfortable, they're confident with those books, they know the words, and they can read those on their own. That builds fluency and that builds confidence. So the number 1 reading strategy to build fluency is rereading. And every time a child rereads a book 3, 4, 5 times, they get more fluent, they get more confident, and their fluency increases. And they go into the next book feeling really confident, which leads us to the reading practice number 3, and that's the guided reading practice. And so it's just a term that we use that means I'm going to help my child with this reading. So the next book I take out, it's going to be a little bit harder than the book he can read on his own. Not too hard. It's just going to be just right, kind of like that Goldilocks. There's too easy, which is okay for independent reading. There's just right, which is the books that I'm going to help my child read because he's going to need a little help to get through some of those words, and that's okay because I'm going to be there. And then there's books that are too hard. I'm going to save those books for read aloud. So you can see how the 3 types of reading practice also coordinate with the 3 types of books, right? Too easy means independent, just right is for guided reading, and too hard is for read aloud time only. So during guided reading, that's when you're going to go over some of the new words before you start the book. Make sure your child is comfortable when he or she sees them. That's when you're going to do a book walk and kind of walk through the book and take a look at it and say, what do you think this book's going to be about? That's when you're going to kind of jar your child's background knowledge and say, okay, this book is about alligators. Do you remember that time we were at the swamp and we saw those alligators? What do you remember? So making those connections. This is also the type of reading during guided reading when if your child gets stuck in a word, you're right there to help. And so you can use, it's all connected, guys, right? You can then use the strategies to help your child figure out new words. So all of this goes together. When we're doing guided reading practice, We're using books that are just right. And we also are teaching our child those strategies. When your child is reading independently, they're using books that are easy and they're using those strategies on their own. When you are reading aloud to your child, that's books that are too hard for them to read on their own, but you're still teaching them good reading strategies and you're modeling for them what you do as a reader. So those are the three things that your child needs. If you're not sure how to do any one of those, or maybe all three, that's okay. I have something coming up, and I've talked about this before, but we're doing round 2 of Reading Boot Camp. I want to offer this one more time, and then we'll see how it goes. I might offer it again in January, but I'm not sure. I want to see if this is what you guys exactly need. So I just wanted to lay this out for you. Those are the core things that we're going to talk about in Reading Boot Camp. But because I wanted to give you even more to be able to do on your own, you'll also get access to my course, which is all about setting a good foundation for reading success in your home. And you'll have that course available to you that you can access in your own time. You can skip around if you want. You can go back to it. You can take notes. There'll be resources in there that you can download. It also comes with videos, so it's an on-demand and you can access it whenever you want. In the meantime, we'll take 4 weeks together. We'll do 4 live sessions. We'll go over all of these 3 things: how to find books, how to use strategies and when, and the type of reading practice that's important. And then the 4th week, we'll talk about where your child is, where maybe they should or could be, and kind of how to get to the next level. So sometimes parents are worried their child is far behind or is not meeting a certain level or criteria. I can help you determine if those worries are valid or if you can set those worries aside and just focus on making progress. Hi, welcome whoever's joining. Please say hi in the comments so I can give you a personal hello, or leave a question. It's fine if you want. I can stay out if you guys have questions too, no problems. So that's what we're going to cover in Reading Boot Camp. But there's one more thing you get in Reading Boot Camp. You get a free consultation, a private consultation with me. So in those 4 weeks together, we'll meet as a group and we'll go over these important things: how to find books, how to teach the right strategies, and the reading practice and the foundations for reading success, where your child should be. But you'll also get a free consultation. And some people in our last Reading Boot Camp chose to just save that consultation because they kind of felt like their child was where they needed to be, and Reading Boot Camp just gave them the confidence to go forward. So they kind of banked that reading consultation. So in 3 months or 6 months, we're going to meet and they're going to say, okay, here's where my child's at. Here's what's coming up. Here's what's going on. Can you help me? Or is there anything I should be concerned about? Or what strategies should I use next? So that reading consultation can be used in week 5, or you can save it. You can put it in the bank, pull it out, knock on my door and say, Mary, I'm ready for the reading consultation now. So I hope that this is something that you guys, if you've answered to any of those 3 questions. If you're just joining now, go back to the beginning, and I'll put the link below if you're interested in signing up for Reading Boot Camp. And if anyone's still on, looks like Kelly, it might be you. I don't know. If you have any questions, feel free to put those into the comments. I'd be happy to answer those. Sometimes Facebook Live is a little slow with the comments. So if you're commenting or asking a question, I will go back in a little while and check those questions and be sure to respond. So make sure you check back and share this video with someone else if you're interested. And I'll go ahead and put those links below for you to sign up for Reading Boot Camp. So thanks for joining, guys. I hope that was helpful. And I'd love to have you join Reading Boot Camps. I'd love to see your children making progress and have a great time for you to get all your questions answered.